The delivery guy handed me a sad bouquet of wilting carnations while I stood at our front door in my bathrobe. It was our 10th anniversary, and the morning dew still clung to the grass of our perfectly manicured lawn in the upscale Boston suburb we called home. "Sign here, please," he mumbled, barely making eye contact as I scribbled on his electronic pad. He seemed almost embarrassed to deliver such a pitiful arrangement. The cellophane wrap crinkled in my hands as I carried the flowers inside. A tiny card was tucked between the drooping pink blooms, the kind you get when you don't bother to request a proper message. "Happy anniversary, honey. Sorry I can't be there when you wake up. Big meeting. Love you. Daniel." I'm Suzanne Torres, 34, marketing executive at Meridian Advertising. My husband Daniel and I met in college, built careers side by side, and moved into our suburban Boston home 3 years ago. The perfect power couple, or so everyone thought. The kind that hosts dinner parties where guests leave whispering about relationship goals. The kitchen was silent as I found a vase under the sink. Our house was modern and pristine, Daniel's taste more than mine, all sleek edges and monochrome colors. I placed the flowers in water, noticing how some petals were already turning brown at the edges, falling onto the immaculate white marble countertop. 10 years together. 10 years of building a life, supporting his career moves, hosting his boss for dinner, attending countless work functions on his arm. And this is what it had come to, dying flowers and an empty house on a milestone anniversary. Daniel had never forgotten our anniversary before. But lately he'd been working late, constantly texting and growing distant. The slight smile when his phone buzzed. The way he angled the screen away from me. The sudden work emergencies on weekends. All the classic signs I'd been willfully ignoring. My coffee machine beeped, pulling me from my thoughts. As I reached for my favorite mug, a handmade pottery piece from our trip to Santa Fe, my phone pinged with a notification. Our shared credit card app was alerting me to a substantial purchase. $5,850 at Tiffany & Company, made yesterday afternoon. My heart raced. Perhaps Daniel had planned something special after all. Maybe the flowers were just a decoy, a way to throw me off before surprising me with something extraordinary. It would be just like him. Daniel loved grand gestures, especially when other people could see them. I opened the app, eager to see details of what I assumed was my surprise gift. We'd always shared finances openly, a decision we'd made early in our marriage. The transaction note froze me in place. Diamond pendant necklace, heart-shaped, with delivery. Delivery? To where? We shared an Amazon account for home deliveries, and nothing from Tiffany had arrived. I checked the delivery address. It wasn't our home. I recognized the street name. It was near Daniel's office building. The coffee mug slipped from my fingers, shattering on the floor. Hot liquid splashed my bare ankles, but I barely felt it. My phone rang, startling me out of my shocked daze. It was Caitlin, my best friend since college and now my colleague at Meridian. "Hey, birthday girl. Happy anniversary." Caitlin's voice was cheerful, a stark contrast to the numbness spreading through my body. "What did Daniel get you this year? Let me guess. Another trip to the Bahamas? That watch you were eyeing." "Carnations," I said flatly, staring at the wilted bouquet. "Grocery store carnations. The kind that sat too long under fluorescent lights." "What?" Caitlin's voice dropped an octave. "You're kidding me, right? Daniel always goes all out for your anniversary." "Well, not this time," I replied, my voice shaking slightly as I crouched to pick up the ceramic shards from my broken mug. "But apparently someone got a Tiffany necklace." "What do you mean?" "I just got a credit card notification. He spent almost $6,000 at Tiffany yesterday." Silence hung on the line, heavy and telling. "Suzanne," Caitlin finally spoke, her voice careful, measured. "Remember that new assistant he mentioned? The one he's been mentoring?" My stomach tightened into a knot. "Melissa? What about her?" "I ran into them last week at that Italian place near your office. Salvatore's. They were having lunch." She paused. They looked close. The room seemed to tilt. I gripped the counter to steady myself. "What exactly does close mean, Caitlin?" They were sitting on the same side of the booth. Her hand was on his arm. "I texted you that night, but you never responded." I checked my messages, scrolling back through days of unanswered texts from friends. There it was, a message from Caitlin I'd somehow missed while working late on the Peterson account. Saw Dan with a blonde at Salvatore's. Seemed weird. Call me. I never saw this, I whispered, more to myself than to Caitlin. Suzanne, are you still there? My hands trembled as I set down the pieces of my broken mug. The irony wasn't lost on me. The mug from our 5th anniversary trip, now shattered on our 10th. I need to go, I managed, ending the call before Caitlin could respond. I dressed quickly for work, mind racing through possibilities, each worse than the last. As I grabbed my laptop bag, I noticed Daniel's laptop on his desk. He'd forgotten it. That wasn't like him. He never went to important meetings without it. His briefcase was gone, but his laptop sat there, closed and waiting. I hesitated for only a moment before opening it. His password was still the same, our anniversary date. The irony wasn't lost on me. He used the date he no longer seemed to value to protect his secrets. His email opened automatically, and right at the top was a message from Melissa Winters, sent just an hour ago. Daniel, I can't wait to see you tonight. The hotel reservation is confirmed for 8 p.m. Thank you for the beautiful necklace. I've never owned anything so exquisite. You're right. We deserve to celebrate properly. Last night was amazing, but tonight will be even better. Attached was a selfie of a young blonde wearing a sparkling heart-shaped diamond necklace against her bare neck. She couldn't have been more than 25, with the kind of effortless beauty that came with youth. Her bedroom eyes stared into the camera, clearly meant for my husband's gaze only. The air left my lungs as if I'd been punched. 10 years. 10 years of marriage. And this is what it had come to. Daniel was planning to celebrate our anniversary in a hotel with his assistant, wearing the necklace he bought her with our money. I closed the laptop with trembling hands and walked to the window. Our neighborhood was quiet, other husbands already gone to their offices, wives either at their own jobs or managing households. From the outside, every home looked perfect. How many other marriages were rotting from within, just like mine? I took a deep breath, then another. Instead of the tears I expected, I felt something else bubbling up, rage. Pure. Clarifying grage. I closed my eyes and made a decision. I pulled out my phone and made a call. Daniel? It's me. I kept my voice light, casual. I was thinking, for our anniversary dinner tonight, let's try that new place downtown, the Capitol Grill. I made reservations for 7. Don't be late. Babe, I might be stuck in meetings until 7 o'clock, Daniel. It's our 10th anniversary. Don't be late. I hung up before he could respond and immediately made another call. Caitlin? I need your help with something. Can you cover for me at work today? I have some errands to run. Of course. Are you okay? You sound different. I'm better than okay, I replied, a plan already forming in my mind. I'm finally seeing clearly. I'll explain everything later. My next call was to our bank, followed by our lawyer, and finally a locksmith. What Daniel didn't know was that I'd already contacted our bank, our lawyer, and a locksmith. By dinner time, I would have changed every password, secured our finances, and packed his bags. The diamonds around Melissa's neck would be the most expensive mistake of his life. The Capitol Grill was all mahogany and soft lighting, with white tablecloths and crystal glasses that caught the candlelight. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, aged whiskey, and grilled steaks. Classical music played softly in the background, barely audible over the murmur of Boston's elite discussing business deals and society gossip. I'd chosen it strategically, public enough to prevent a scene, expensive enough to make a statement, and crowded enough for witnesses. The kind of place where Daniel always felt powerful and important. I arrived early, dressed in a new red dress I'd bought during lunch. Form-fitting, low-cut, and nothing like what Daniel was used to seeing me wear. I'd also visited the salon, having my usual conservative brown bob styled into something more tousled and glamorous. The stylist had convinced me to add caramel highlights that caught the light when I moved. You look stunning, she had said as I paid. Special occasion? The end of an era, I'd replied cryptically. Now, as I handed my coat to the attendant, I caught several appreciative glances from men at the bar. It was a heady feeling after years of being just Daniel's wife. The maitre d' recognized me from my visit earlier that day, when I'd slipped him an extra 100 to ensure the perfect table. "Mrs. Torres, right this way," he said with a practiced smile. "Your husband will be joining you soon?" "Oh yes," I smiled back. "It's our anniversary. Everything needs to be perfect." He led me to the best table in the house, as requested. Central enough to be seen by everyone, but private enough for conversation. I ordered champagne while waiting, not the brand Daniel usually chose, but my personal favorite. While waiting, I checked my phone. All tasks complete. Joint accounts separated, credit cards frozen except for mine, and Daniel's belongings packed in suitcases in the trunk of my car. I'd moved fast, but 10 years of managing high-pressure marketing campaigns had taught me efficiency. I'd also forwarded Melissa's email to myself, along with screenshots of their text exchanges I'd found on Daniel's laptop. My lawyer had been particularly interested in those, given the infidelity clause in our prenup. The prenup Daniel had insisted upon to protect his future earnings. The restaurant door opened, and Daniel walked in looking harried. His navy suit was slightly rumpled, his red tie loosened at the neck. He scanned the room before spotting me, and for a moment he didn't seem to recognize me. His eyes widened when he did. "Suzanne." He approached the table slowly, taking in my transformation. "Wow. You look different." "Different good or different bad?" I asked, taking a sip of the champagne I'd already ordered. "Good. Really good." He loosened his tie further and sat down. "Sorry I'm late. The meeting ran long and—" "With Melissa?" I asked pleasantly. His face paled. "What? Your meeting? Was it with Melissa Winters?" He recovered quickly, a practiced smile appearing. I recognized it well. The same smile he used when smoothing things over with clients after a missed deadline. Among others. The whole team was there. "Parker is pushing up the deadline on the Westfield account." He unfolded his napkin, placing it on his lap with deliberate movements. "You know how it is." I nodded, watching him squirm. "Funny, because I called your office earlier. They said you left at noon." Daniel's eyes darted around the restaurant. "I had meetings outside the office." "At the hotel on Boylston Street?" I asked, keeping my voice light. His hand froze midway to the water glass. "What are you talking about?" The waiter approached, and Daniel seemed relieved by the interruption. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Capitol Grill. Can I start you with something to drink?" "Scotch." "Neat." Daniel's voice was strained. "Make it a double." After the waiter left, Daniel reached across the table for my hand. I pulled back just slightly, not enough to create a scene, but enough for him to notice. "Babe, is everything okay? You seem tense." I smiled. "Just reflective. 10 years is a long time." "It is," he agreed, relaxing a little. "And I'm sorry about this morning. I should have been there. The flowers were, well, it was the best I could do last minute. I've been swamped with the Westfield pitch." "While you were busy buying diamond necklaces?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. His face went blank. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the credit card notification. Tiffany & Company. Yesterday. Almost $6,000. For a moment, panic flashed in his eyes, quickly replaced by indignation. "You're monitoring my spending now?" "It's a shared card, Daniel. The app notifies both of us for purchases over a certain amount. You set it up, remember? After my shopping spree last Christmas." I used air quotes around the words he'd thrown at me when I'd spent $500 on gifts for my family. His scotch arrived, and he drank half of it in one gulp. "It was supposed to be a surprise," he said finally. "For you. For tonight." "Really?" I raised an eyebrow. "Then where is it?" He hesitated. "I left it at the office. In my desk. I was going to get it after our dinner." "How thoughtful." I took another sip of champagne. "And did you also book a hotel room to give it to me in? Since we deserve to celebrate properly?" His face went white. I could almost see his mind racing, trying to figure out how much I knew. "Suzanne, I don't know what you think is happening, but—" "Stop." My voice was quiet but firm. "I saw the email, Daniel. I saw the picture of Melissa wearing my necklace. You went through my computer? Anger replaced his panic. That's a violation of my privacy. And sleeping with your 20-something assistant isn't a violation of our marriage vows? I kept my voice level, but loud enough that a couple at a nearby table glanced our way. Daniel lowered his voice to a harsh whisper. Keep your voice down. This isn't the place. Oh, I disagree, I replied calmly. This is exactly the place. I wanted to be somewhere special when I asked how long you've been sleeping with Melissa. Daniel's face flushed. It's not what you think. Really? Because I think you've been having an affair. I think you bought another woman a diamond necklace for your anniversary with me. I think you're a liar and a cheat. Suzanne, please. His voice turned pleading. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. She's just what, Daniel? Just a girl you work with? Just someone to have fun with? Just the woman you're meeting at a hotel tonight while your wife thinks you're working late? He reached for my hand again, desperation in his eyes. Baby, please. I made a terrible mistake. I'll end it. I'll quit my job if I have to. We can go to counseling. Can we please talk about this at home? He begged, his eyes darting around the restaurant. Several diners were now openly watching our exchange. I leaned forward. There's something I need to know first. Just one thing. He looked relieved. Anything. Why her? What does she have that I don't? His silence told me everything. She's younger. I answered for him. Simpler. She adores you. She makes you feel important, powerful. She doesn't challenge you the way I do. It's not like that. But his eyes confirmed it was exactly like that. Let me guess, she laughs at all your jokes. She doesn't have opinions about your work. She's impressed by everything you do. I took another sip of champagne. How am I doing so far? Daniel stared down at his empty glass. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. 10 years, Daniel. I supported you through business school. I moved 3 times for your career. I waited to start a family, because the timing was never right for you. And this is how you repay me. The waiter approached again. Are you ready to order? I smiled at him. I am. He isn't. I stood up, smoothing my red dress. Suzanne, please sit down, Daniel hissed. People are watching. Good. I picked up my champagne glass. I want witnesses for this. I raised my glass. To 10 years of marriage and 1 diamond necklace that ended it all. I drained my glass and set it down. Goodbye, Daniel. Your things are packed in my car. You can get them from the valet. The Marriott down the street has vacancies. I already checked. His face contorted in shock. You can't be serious. I dropped a hotel key card on the table. Room 718. I booked it in your name. Consider it my anniversary gift to you. As I walked away, he called after me. Suzanne, you can't just leave. I turned back, addressing the now silent restaurant. Yes, I can. And I am. I walked to the maitre d' stand, pulled out my wallet, and handed the man my credit card. I'd like to pay for the table. And please, send over your finest bottle of champagne to that gentleman. I nodded toward a distinguished older man dining alone. Tell him it's a gift from a woman who just remembered her worth. What Daniel didn't realize as he sat humiliated in that restaurant was that I'd already emptied our joint investment account that morning. The prenup he'd insisted on had a clear infidelity clause. And I had all the evidence I needed in my purse, including screenshots of every message between him and Melissa going back 3 months. By tomorrow, he wouldn't just be without a wife. He'd be without the financial security he'd built on my support. Morning sunlight streamed through Caitlin's guest bedroom window, painting patterns on the pale blue walls. I'd slept surprisingly well, given the circumstances. There was something freeing about finally acting instead of wondering, suspecting, fearing. I stretched and reached for my phone. 27 missed calls from Daniel and 15 unread texts. I scrolled through them briefly. Where are you? This isn't funny, Suzanne. Please call me. We can work this out. You can't just throw away 10 years. You're overreacting. It wasn't what it looked like. Where are my things? The last one, sent at 3 a.m., simply read, I'm sorry. Please. Too little, too late. I ignored them all and called my lawyer instead. Michael had been a friend of my father's, and he'd handled our prenup 10 years ago, at Daniel's insistence. Suzanne, I got your emails with the evidence. This is actually straightforward, Michael said, his voice crisp and professional. The prenup Daniel insisted on works in your favor now. The infidelity clause is clear. He forfeits claim to any assets acquired during the marriage. And the house? I asked, sitting up in bed and wrapping my arms around my knees. You put down the majority of the down payment from your inheritance. We have a strong case to keep it. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. What's my next step? Let me file the papers. Meanwhile, don't engage with him directly. Everything through lawyers now. And Suzanne, change your email passwords if you haven't already. People get desperate. After hanging up, I finally checked one of Daniel's texts. Please come home. We need to talk. I made a terrible mistake. I ended things with Melissa. Another read. The house locks are changed. Where are my things? This isn't legal. I smiled. He wasn't wrong. Changing the locks was technically questionable. But I needed time to secure evidence before he could destroy it. A third message caught my eye. I found your clothes missing from the closet. Are you at Caitlin's? I'm coming over. My heart raced momentarily before I remembered. Daniel had never been to Caitlin's new apartment. She'd moved 6 months ago, and he'd always made excuses not to attend her housewarming party, claiming her neighborhood wasn't our kind of area. Caitlin knocked on the door, carrying a mug of coffee. You up for breakfast? I made French toast. You're amazing, I said gratefully, accepting the coffee. And yes, definitely yes to French toast. Over breakfast at Caitlin's tiny kitchen island, I filled her in on my next moves. I'm meeting with HR at work on Monday. I want to explain the situation before Daniel has a chance to spin it. Good idea, Caitlin nodded. But what about Melissa? She works there too. That's her problem, not mine, I said firmly. I'm not the one who violated company policy on workplace relationships. I can't believe how calm you are, she said, pouring more coffee. I'd be a wreck. Oh, I had my breakdown. Around 2 p.m. yesterday between closing the bank accounts and meeting with the lawyer. I stirred my coffee. Then I realized something. I've spent 10 years managing Daniel's feelings. Making sure he was happy, comfortable, successful. I'm done with that job. My phone rang, Daniel again. I declined the call. What if he comes here? Caitlin asked. He doesn't know where you live, I replied. We always hosted at our place because Daniel thought your neighborhood wasn't upscale enough. Jerk, Caitlin muttered. My phone pinged with an email notification. It was from Melissa Winters' subject line. We need to talk. My finger hovered over the delete button, but curiosity won out. I opened it. Suzanne, I know you must hate me right now, and you have every right to. But there are things you should know about Daniel that I didn't know until yesterday. Can we meet? Just once. I promise it will be worth your time. I showed Caitlin the message. It's a trap, she said immediately. Daniel put her up to this. Maybe, I agreed. But what if it's not? You can't seriously be considering meeting her? I thought for a moment. Actually, I am. In a public place, with you nearby. I want to hear what she has to say. This is crazy, Caitlin protested. No, what's crazy is finding out your husband of 10 years bought his mistress diamonds while giving you dying flowers. I typed a reply to Melissa. Starbucks on Newberry Street. 2 p.m. today. You have 15 minutes. Caitlin shook her head. I still think this is a bad idea. But I'll be there 2 tables over, ready to intervene if needed. Deal, I agreed. While Caitlin showered, I called my parents. They lived in Arizona now, having retired there 3 years ago. Suzanne, honey, how was the anniversary? Did Daniel like the watch you got him? My mother's voice was bright, unaware of how much had changed since we'd last spoken. I took a deep breath. Mom, I need to tell you something. Daniel and I are getting divorced. What? No, that can't be right. You two are perfect together. We're really not, Mom. He's been having an affair with his assistant. The silence on the other end told me she was processing. Then, that bastard. I laughed despite everything. My proper, church-going mother rarely cursed. Yeah, that about sums it up. What can we do? Do you need money? Should we come out there? No, Mom. I'm okay. Really? The prenup works in my favor, and I've got a good lawyer. I just wanted you to know. After promising to call again soon with updates, I hung up and stared at my reflection in Caitlin's bathroom mirror. The woman staring back looked different somehow. Her eyes clearer, her shoulders straighter. Walking away from Daniel hadn't diminished me. It had restored something I'd been slowly losing. At 1:55, I was seated in the corner of the busy Starbucks, Caitlin positioned at another table with a clear view. The coffee shop was crowded with Saturday shoppers, providing the perfect anonymous setting. Melissa walked in exactly at 2, looking nothing like the confident woman in the necklace selfie. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore no makeup, and a large sunglasses sat atop her head. She spotted me immediately and approached, clutching an oversized handbag. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, her voice smaller than I'd imagined. 15 minutes, I reminded her, starting the timer on my phone. Talk. She sat across from me, setting her bag on the empty chair beside her. "First, I want to say I'm sorry. I knew he was married, and I have no excuse. If that's all you came to say." "It's not." She took a deep breath. "Daniel lied to me too. He said your marriage was over in all but paperwork. That you were staying together for appearances, but both seeing other people." I laughed bitterly. Classic. I believed him because I wanted to. Tears welled in her eyes. "But that's not why I'm here. Yesterday, after you confronted him, he came to my apartment. He was furious, blamed me for being careless with the emails. He demanded the necklace back." She pulled out her phone, showing me a photo of her face with a developing bruise on her cheek. "He did this when I refused." My blood ran cold. Daniel had never been physically violent before. Not once in our 10 years together had he even raised his voice in anger. "Did you report him?" She nodded. "Filed a police report this morning. But there's more." She pulled out a flash drive. "He's been embezzling from the company. Small amounts that wouldn't trigger audits, but over time, it's substantial. I helped him hide some of it, not understanding what I was doing at first." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm turning myself in. I've already spoken to HR. They're launching an investigation." Her hands trembled as she placed them flat on the table. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I thought you should know what kind of man he really is." I studied her face, looking for deception. "Why should I believe you?" She pushed the flash drive toward me. "Everything's here. Bank transfers, fake vendor accounts, all of it. I was his assistant. I had access to everything." My timer beeped. 15 minutes up. "I have to go," she said, standing. "They'll probably arrest both of us. I wanted you to know the truth." As she turned to leave, I called after her. "Melissa." She looked back. "The necklace. What happened to it?" "I pawned it this morning," she replied. "Used the money to retain a lawyer." After she left, Caitlin joined me at the table. "What was that all about?" I held up the flash drive. "Either evidence that will bury Daniel, or the most elaborate setup I've ever seen." "And the truth is?" "I think she's telling the truth." I tapped the flash drive against my palm. "Which means Daniel isn't just a cheater. He's a thief and potentially violent." My phone rang. "My lawyer, Suzanne, Daniel's attorney, just contacted me. He's claiming you stole money from their joint accounts and business assets. He's threatening to press charges." I laughed. Perfect timing. "Tell him we need to meet. I have something he's going to want to see." "What exactly do you have?" "Evidence that Daniel has been embezzling from his company, and a witness willing to testify." A long whistle came through the phone. "This changes everything. I'll set up a meeting for Monday morning." After I hung up, Caitlin stared at me with wide eyes. "Suzanne Torres, who are you? 24 hours ago you were just my friend with the perfect husband. Now you're some kind of avenging angel with corporate crime evidence." "I'm the same person," I replied. "I just finally stopped looking the other way." What Daniel never suspected was that his attempt to silence both women in his life would backfire so spectacularly. The flash drive Melissa gave me didn't just contain evidence of his embezzlement. It also had recordings of every conversation where he'd instructed her to hide money from me and the company. By morning, I wouldn't just be fighting for my divorce settlement. I'd be providing evidence in a criminal investigation. The conference room at my lawyer's office felt too small with Daniel glaring at me from across the polished mahogany table. His attorney, a sharp-looking woman in her 50s named Eleanor Green, sat beside him reviewing documents. My lawyer, Michael, calmly arranged papers in front of us. Daniel looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, his usual perfectly pressed shirt wrinkled. He tried to catch my eye when he walked in, but I kept my gaze fixed on my notepad. "Let's get to the point," Eleanor began, her voice clipped and professional. "My client is willing to be generous despite your client's erratic behavior and theft of joint assets." Michael smiled politely. "Interesting opening position. Perhaps your client hasn't fully briefed you on the situation." Daniel leaned forward, his hands flat on the table. "This is ridiculous. Suzanne emptied our accounts, changed the locks on our house, and stole personal property. I'm the victim here. Is that what you told the police when you assaulted Melissa Winters?" I asked calmly, speaking for the first time since the meeting began. His face flushed. "She's lying. I never touched her." I pulled out my phone and played a voice recording. "You stupid bitch. Give me the necklace. No one will believe you over me anyway." The sound of something crashing followed, then Melissa's voice crying out. Daniel's attorney looked at him sharply. "Where did you get that?" Daniel demanded. "Melissa installed a security app after you started showing your true colors," I replied. "Turns out, she's smarter than either of us gave her credit for." Michael slid a folder toward Daniel's attorney. "This is our counteroffer. Mrs. Torres keeps the house, her personal accounts, and her share of joint assets. Mr. Torres admits to infidelity, waiving his rights under the prenuptial agreement." "This is absurd," Eleanor began, but I cut her off. "There's also the matter of the company funds," I said quietly. Daniel went very still. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said carefully. I placed the flash drive on the table. 3 years of financial records showing systematic embezzlement from Tanner Technology, false vendors, padded expense reports, diverted client payments. Shall I go on? His attorney looked between us. "Mr. Torres, I need to speak with you privately." "There's nothing to discuss," Daniel snapped. "She's bluffing." "Am I?" I nodded to Michael, who opened his laptop and pulled up one of the documents from the drive. "September 15th, you created a shell company called DT Consulting. Your company paid $12,750 for services never rendered. The money went to an offshore account in the Caymans." Daniel's face drained of color. "That's just one example," I continued. "There are dozens more, including emails where you instructed Melissa on how to process these payments without alerting finance." "Where did you get this?" he asked, voice barely audible. "Does it matter? What matters is that I have it. And so does the company's HR department." Daniel's attorney stood abruptly. "We need a recess. Now." They left the room, and I exhaled slowly, my hands trembling despite my calm facade. "You did well," Michael said. "But he might still fight." "He won't," I replied. "Daniel's always been about appearances. The idea of a public scandal, let alone criminal charges, he'll cave." 20 minutes later, they returned. Daniel looked defeated, shoulders slumped, eyes downcast. His attorney's expression was professionally neutral, but the tightness around her mouth spoke volumes. "We accept your terms," Eleanor said stiffly. "With one condition. My client wants assurance that Mrs. Torres will not turn over that evidence to authorities." Michael started to speak, but I raised my hand to stop him. "No," I said simply. "No." Daniel echoed. "Suzanne, be reasonable. You've won. You get everything. Don't destroy my entire life. Like you destroyed our marriage?" I asked. "I'm not turning the evidence over to the police." Relief flooded his face. "Because Melissa already did," I finished. Daniel lurched to his feet. "You're lying. Check your phone, I suggested. He grabbed his phone, scrolling frantically through messages. His face contorted as he found what I knew would be there. A message from his boss asking him to come to the office immediately to discuss serious allegations. You planned this, he accused. You and Melissa. No, Daniel. You planned this. Every lie, every betrayal, every stolen dollar. I'm just making sure you face the consequences. His attorney whispered something in his ear, but he shook her off. You won't get away with this, he threatened. I already have. I stood up. Sign the papers, Daniel. It's over. This isn't just about the affair, is it? He asked, suddenly realizing. You could have forgiven that. Maybe once, I admitted. But not the lies. Not the stealing. And certainly not putting your hands on another woman. The man I thought I married would never do those things. I built a life for us, he shouted, face reddening. Everything I did was for our future. No, I corrected him. Everything you did was for yourself. The diamond necklace just made that clear. He slumped back in his chair, defeated. What happens now? Now you sign these papers, Michael said, sliding the divorce agreement toward him. And then you deal with whatever comes next on your own. Daniel signed without reading, his hand shaking. As we gathered our things to leave, he looked up at me. For what it's worth, I did love you. Once. I paused at the door. Not enough, Daniel. Not nearly enough. Outside the building, rain had started to fall. I stood under the awning for a moment, watching people rush by with umbrellas and rain jackets. Ordinary people with ordinary problems. How simple my life had been just 3 days ago. Where to now? Michael asked, joining me. Home, I said. I have a lot of redecorating to do. What Daniel would soon discover was that while he was signing our divorce papers, his company was contacting the FBI about his embezzlement. The diamond necklace he'd bought Melissa would pay for less than an hour of the legal representation he'd need for the federal charges coming his way. And the evidence showed he'd stolen nearly $500,000 over 3 years. 6 months later, I stood in my kitchen alone now, preparing dinner for Caitlin and a few friends. Sunlight streamed through new windows I'd installed, part of a renovation that had transformed the house from Daniel's preferred dark masculine style to something brighter, more open. The sleek monochrome counters had been replaced with warm wood, and the cold steel appliances swapped for ones in cheerful colors. I'd painted an accent wall in the dining room a rich teal color that Daniel would have hated. Every change felt like reclaiming another piece of myself. My phone pinged with a news alert. I already knew what it would say, but I checked anyway. Former Tanner Technology executive pleads guilty to embezzlement. Daniel had finally accepted a plea deal. According to the article, he would serve 18 months in a minimum security prison plus pay restitution. The doorbell rang, and I wiped my hands on a dish towel before going to answer it. Caitlin stood on my porch, bottle of wine in hand. I saw the news, she said, stepping inside and handing me the bottle. How are you feeling? I considered the question as I led her to the kitchen. Relieved, I think. It's finally over. She looked around approvingly. The renovations look amazing. I love what you've done with the place. Thanks. It feels like mine now. Thinking about him? Caitlin asked, noticing me glance at my phone again. Just for a moment, I admitted. He took the plea. She poured 2 glasses from the bottle she'd brought. To justice. We clinked glasses. It's strange, I said, returning to the vegetables I was chopping. 10 years with someone, and now he's just a headline. Any regrets? I considered the question. About leaving? Not one. About marrying him in the first place? I'm not sure. Those years weren't all bad. But they weren't what you deserved, Caitlin reminded me. No, I agreed. They weren't. The doorbell rang again, the rest of our friends arriving for dinner. As I moved to answer it, Caitlin caught my arm. Hey, you never told me what happened with Melissa. I hesitated. She testified against Daniel. Got immunity. Last I heard, she moved to Chicago for a fresh start. Do you forgive her? I don't know if forgiveness is the right word, but I understand her better now. We were both deceived by the same man, just in different ways. That's Surprisingly compassionate of you. I shrugged. Anger takes too much energy. I'd rather focus on rebuilding. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. Dinner was lively, filled with laughter and stories. My friends had carried me through the darkest days after the divorce. And now we were celebrating, not just the end of Daniel's case, but my promotion to creative director at a new agency. To Suzanne Torres, creative genius and woman of steel. Caitlin toasted, raising her glass. To new beginnings, I added. As everyone was leaving, Mark, a friend from my running group, lingered behind. Great dinner, he said, helping me clear the last glasses. Thanks for coming. I smiled. And for the flowers. They're beautiful. He'd brought a stunning arrangement of fresh tulips. My favorite, though I'd only mentioned it once in passing. I have to admit, he said with a shy smile. I Googled how to pick good flowers. After that story about your ex and the sad carnations, I wanted to get it right. I laughed. Well, mission accomplished. Would you maybe want to grab coffee sometime? He asked. Or another run that doesn't involve the whole group? 6 months ago, I would have said no automatically. But now, I'd like that, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. After everyone had gone, I sat on my deck watching the sunset, a glass of wine in hand. The evening air was cool but pleasant, carrying the scent of the garden I'd planted where Daniel's prized lawn had once been. My phone buzzed with a text, an unknown number. It's Daniel. Got a new phone. We need to talk about the house. I still have rights. Some things never changed. I blocked the number without responding and went inside to my home. Mine alone, bought and paid for as specified in our divorce settlement. On my desk sat the framed business card for my new position. Beside it was a small jewelry box. I opened it, revealing a pair of diamond earrings I'd bought myself with my signing bonus. Not a necklace. I couldn't see myself wearing one of those again anytime soon. But these were perfect. A reminder that I could give myself the things I deserved. I'd spent 10 years of my life with a man who ultimately valued me less than his own desires. The cheap anniversary flowers had been a symptom, not the disease. But they'd been the wake-up call I needed. Walking away from that restaurant table had been the hardest and best decision of my life. I'd lost a husband but found myself, stronger, clearer, and finally free to build the life I actually wanted. Not the one someone else designed for me. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can give yourself isn't diamonds. It's the courage to walk away.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.